Hamilton won the Barcelona GP, but what happened to the rest of the drivers? What happened to Max? What happened to McLaren? Are Ferrari like genuine title contenders, or is it just a one-off race where everything aligned for Ferrari and Hamilton? What are the updates on the paddock? What's the next update when it comes to ADUO? There are so many unanswered questions, so let's get right to it. I know we are all still in the aftermath of Hamilton's victory all over social media. That's the only thing being talked about, and I actually love it. We did pretty much dedicate an entire video, the previous video, explaining Hamilton's win and Ferrari's strategy. So in this video, I will try to avoid a lot of topics related to Hamilton and his race win because most of it is discussed in the previous video. I'll focus more on other drivers, other teams, and moments that happened on and off the track and paddock. And I want to start by answering all the questions that you guys have asked me on Instagram when I posted the story, and then I will share some updates around what is happening in the ADUO rules, upgrades for the next few races, etc. Okay, let's get started. So the first most asked question other than Lewis's win was what happened to Max Verstappen in that race. Does Max have a chance of winning this season? Does Red Bull have any upgrades coming? All of that, let's get right in. Firstly, I want to start off this section by saying that you can never write Max Verstappen off. Let me remind you that last season, in the first few races, he barely had any victory. In fact, the first half of the season, he had one victory, if I am not wrong. And in the second half, he had 7 with a total of 8 victories. So this guy is not the same as Lewis Hamilton, where over the last few years, victories have been very little. Max Verstappen has just come off an almost title winning season. Okay, he lost out by 2 points. But having said that, with any new set of regulations coming in, the first year is always going to be an upgrade race, right? Ferrari was supposed to bring in upgrades like every other team, and they split their upgrades in 2 sections, one in Miami and one in Barcelona. Miami's upgrades, they did not have a great time, but in Barcelona's upgrades, I think the car felt more complete and Lewis went on to win. From now on till probably the end of the season, it is all going to be about who is bringing in upgrades when. Okay, everyone in the paddock seems to agree that Ferrari has the best chassis. Chassis are what help a car with balance and gives the confidence for the driver to push the car, brake late, to be aggressive, etc. And Red Bull cars seem to be overweight, even though they have the best engine on paper, and even if they have the best strategy, if the car just doesn't come alive in Max Verstappen's hands, he's not going to get anything out of that car. So podiums are not going to be regular, it'll be here and there, and wins definitely are not happening. So Red Bull's upgrades are the priority for Max Verstappen to start winning again. And as per Laurent Mekies, there is a big upgrade coming to Austria. While he says that the car is going to go on a diet, he also added that the upgrade won't be enough, which means there is a lot more work pending and there is a lot more upgrades coming later in the season. So I don't think we should get our hopes fully up yet. So we'll have to wait and see in Austria how Red Bull fare with their big set of upgrades coming in, and it is going to be their home race in the Red Bull ring. So a lot of things are riding on that race for Red Bull at least. Question number 2, why are Ferrari fast around the corners? So I found this graphic from Barcelona. Okay, I wanted to share this with you all. This is a graph of average apex speed. Apex is that part of the corner where the driver clips the corner, right? So look at the gap between Hamilton and the rest of the gang. This does not feel like it's a strength of Ferrari, because look at the gap between Lewis and Charles Leclerc. I do also want to point out that Lewis has a late braking style of driving, which means he could be probably attacking the apex a lot more significantly than the rest of them. But look at the difference on average across all of these guys. Historically, Ferrari has always performed well in slow and medium speed corners. However, the upgrades that they brought to Barcelona allowed the car to be fully in the optimal aerodynamic window. This basically prevented a lot of rear snapping or like losing rear tire grip and skidding and all of that. And it also definitely improved the tire management as well. Now I'll come back to this tire management towards the end of the video, but there is also a key element to all of this, which is the front wing for Lewis. Fred Vasseur confirmed that the front wing configuration was entirely Lewis Hamilton's idea. They modified the base plate. I think some of the second flap was adjusted and widened. They also changed the load balance on the front axle, allowing the car to be a lot more planted and stable. especially through corners, and this also helped Lewis be very aggressive on the throttle and also at the same time maintaining tires. When there is better grip, the tires last longer. So there you go. As Hamilton pointed out in recent interviews, the new regulations kind of helped him apply his personal experience in collaborating with the team to design a car and setup that is suited to his own driving style. So there is your answer. Question number 3, Mercedes engine, why did it fail? Now, it failed in the exact same way George's battery failed in Canada. It was a total electrical unit collapse, basically. It just shut down, and it is as simple as that. I also wanted to find out a lot more about the reason behind that or the exact cause, but it is kind of difficult because it's all hush-hush. Some accounts on Twitter seem to even mention that George's battery, because it is a faulty battery, it is not permitted to be taken in an airline. It had to be shipped from Canada to the Mercedes factory in the UK by ship, and it is also going to take at least 3 months time to reach. But now with Kimi's engine failure in Barcelona, I think they can get the engine to the factory on road. The reliability seems to be the biggest headline for Mercedes, not just for Mercedes but all Mercedes powered cars. McLaren this year had an initial hiccup. They seemed to do well in Japan, but it was all back to chaos over the last few races. Funnily enough, Alpine seem to be doing well as a Mercedes customer. They are even doing better than Mercedes when it comes to reliability, but Williams are struggling too. So the next few weekends, it's all going to be reliability focused for Mercedes, and the sooner they fix it, the sooner they can be confident that they are leading the championship and the constructors and drivers championships are in the bag. For now, if they don't fix it, Lewis Hamilton smells blood, and obviously in Toto's own words, he doesn't want to be fighting Lewis Hamilton for the title. Okay, next question. What is happening with the McLarens? Why was Oscar slower than Norris in Barcelona? Yes, the reigning drivers and constructors champions, they were having a bit of a meh weekend in their standards in Barcelona and in general in the season. In Japan, we felt like they had brought some reliability fixes and they were in the title competition, but Kimi ended up winning because of luck again. Piastri even ended up on the podium, but after Miami and Canada, I think McLaren also have been nowhere with their DNFs as well. Apart from the reliability issues of their power unit, they also seem to be struggling with the tire management and temperatures as well. I also want to explain this in detail, especially why Piastri and Norris were so far apart from Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton. In this graph, Antonelli is the reference, okay? You can see that Norris has been keeping up with Antonelli throughout the race. Why? It's not because Norris had the pace, it is because Antonelli was asked not to race George Russell, okay? And towards the end, you see the slight spike. This is when Antonelli is actively racing George Russell. Now, Lando got the podium because of Antonelli's DNF, but if you look at Oscar's drop off in the pace, it is not just Oscar who was dropping off, it was Max Verstappen as well, right? Both these drivers had issues with tire management. They just couldn't drive it as fast as possible, because if they drove it as fast, their tires would have degraded even faster, even though Max was on a 3-stop strategy, by the way. So this meant Oscar had to drive much slower than usual, just so that he can keep up with the strategy and keep his original place. And this is just not my assumption. Andrea Stella himself came out and confirmed this. They just couldn't bring the tires in the right functioning window to get the best of the car. He also went on to say that the new regulations brought such a big reset to their cars that pretty much every advantage they had last year has been completely wiped out. Last year, they were poking fun of other teams with the tire water bottle and stuff. Now look what has happened to them. Look how far the champions have fallen. But again, will they bounce back? They also have a lot of upgrades coming in. Nothing specific for Austria as of now, but definitely I'm sure they are working on something. So it is, again, like I mentioned, a race of upgrades, a season of upgrades. Whoever gets the upgrades into the season at the right timing is going to have a huge advantage. Question number 5. Did Ferrari make a good setup for Leclerc? Are they a championship contender now that Lewis has looked strong? Now this is an interesting question, but I also want to give a massive update about Ferrari's innovation here, okay? Listen to me very, very carefully, because this is super interesting. Firstly, I want to talk about Leclerc. and his last couple of weekends, okay? Leclerc has been struggling with brakes. We all know his crash in Monaco, but Lewis has been changing things in the side of his garage, and actually that is converting to a lot of positive results, right? So Leclerc also is under pressure to bring that results up. So he's trying to leave his comfort zone and try to adapt to what Lewis is doing. So definitely these setup changes will take a bit of experimenting, and he also switched his brake disc manufacturer. So this is going to be a difficult time for Leclerc, that is understood, right? The DNF was not his problem though, because it was a hydraulic failure that was a reliability issue from the factory and manufacturing side, not Charles Leclerc's problem. In fairness, Leclerc did have a decent recovery race, but the fact that his pace was never on par with Lewis kind of says that his setup was definitely not in his comfort zone. It might take a couple of races for him to get into the groove, but I do feel like Ferrari has the pace. Now, some folks have been commenting on my Instagram reel saying that Lewis was lucky with the VSC. He was not. The only thing that I would add that might have changed the outcome of the race was if Kimi and George were allowed to race right from the first mistake of George's pit stop. And if you're going to talk, even if Antonelli caught up Lewis Hamilton and overtook him, his engine would have broken down, so Lewis would still win. Now back to the thing that I wanted to talk about. I came across something very, very interesting, and this is about Ferrari and their tires, okay? Someone pointed out that Ferrari was having much less tire degradation in their rear tires because they brought a new tire setup for their rear tires. Especially these tires have better ventilation and they tend to manage the heat transfer from the rims of the tires to the outer air much better. And I think this was a tire that is manufactured and brought in from Japan. Now this is the innovation that Lewis was talking about. Apparently there is a chamber inside the wheel that is helping with all of these heat dissipation. With the Macarena wing and the change in the brake disc, and now with new rear tires, Ferrari is becoming a team that other teams are going to look for and copying their innovations. I think this is going to be the biggest news going forward in the weekend. Ferrari's new tire innovation. Somebody is going to protest it. Some team is going to copy it. All of that is going to happen. I actually genuinely want to know what happens when Mercedes and Ferrari are both having perfect weekends. In Barcelona, there were just one too many mistakes from the Mercedes side of the garage, so we cannot do a head-to-head comparison. There is always going to be a part of me that gets excited to see Ferrari make some moves in the points table, but again, I'm telling myself not to get excited too soon. Question number 6, which is on the ADUO updates. A lot of you have asked me questions around this, so I'm going to consolidate all the updates that I have and the answers to the questions into this one question. So Ferrari have been working on an engine upgrade anticipating the ADUO update, okay? So they have an engine upgrade coming into Austria. This is expected to be a minor upgrade with a small increase in horsepower. Their biggest engine upgrade is expected in Monza. Ferrari seem to be on a roll with upgrades. Barcelona, if we were to take that as a reference, Ferrari's upgrades definitely are a force to be reckoned with, and they might be in the right direction again. On the other hand, Red Bull are still questioning the ADUO results. Lauren Mikies again pointed out, while with data analysis, obviously, if Red Bull have the better internal combustion engine, in Canada where the ice had the bigger priority, they finished 6th in qualifying, and in Monaco where the ice did not have that big an impact, they finished P2. Now when we are back to Barcelona where internal combustion engine is a bigger priority in the power, they are finishing P5 and P6. Red Bull clearly are still debating how is this fair. It's not just about having ice being the reference point. Even if ice was just the reference point, the data just seems to be off. Now this is really worrying for all Red Bull fans, because every other team is going to use this ADUO as a reason and excuse to upgrade not just the internal combustion engine, but every part of the car. ICE, batteries, MGUK, turbo, electronics, and Red Bull. All this while every team is doing all of these upgrades has to sit idle with the same engine. How is that going to work out? They're already in 5th, 6th place. With the engine upgrades, Mercedes is going to improve. When the engine upgrades from Mercedes hit, Alpine are going to improve. When the engine upgrades from Ferrari hit, Haas are going to improve and surpass them maybe. All this while Red Bull are going to be sitting ducks. So I am genuinely worried for Red Bull because of the way these ADUO rules are being set up. And that brings me on to the other updates section, and I want to start off with the update on Max Verstappen and his secret meeting with the Red Bull bosses that happened in Austria a few days back. We all know that Max's contract has a clause that allows him to look outside Red Bull for options if they are not in the top two in the battle for drivers' championship. This is not new. We had the same discussion last year as well, and in fact last year somehow Red Bull team managed to convince him to stay, and they even sacrificed 2026 development to develop the 2025 car to give him a genuine shot at the championship. Last year the discussions convinced Max Verstappen to stay in Red Bull, but does it look the same this year? No, I don't think so. As per sources, Max has given a different answer for them. So the next 6-7 races for Red Bull are super important, especially the upgrades that they bring in Austria. If Red Bull's car does not show enough improvement with all the weight losses and all the diet that this car is going to go through, if there is not enough improvement, Max Verstappen has every right legally as per his contract to look outside for opportunities, and we'll probably expect a huge breaking news in the summer. We also have some updates from Alpine and Fernando Alonso. Last video I mentioned that till one party openly confirms or denies, the rumors will continue, and that's exactly what has happened. Flavio was asked about the rumors and he has given exactly that kind of an answer that neither confirms nor denies. Okay, see, Flavio is not someone who is new to the world of F1, and he is not even new to the world of media scrutiny and controversy. Okay, so definitely he knew what he was doing hanging out with Fernando Alonso in the Aston Martin hospitality. He knew that he was going to be photographed, and he knew rumors were going to start, and his response has also been very calculated. He has mentioned now that Alpine has become a strong midfield team and are actually competing with the likes of McLaren for the top 3 or 4 spots. He feels like he needs drivers that can push Alpine into a top 3 team, and he mentioned it by saying that he is keeping his drivers' options open. While he has not made any decisions yet, he is looking forward to the summer to make some decisions, and now that is neither confirming nor denying. So yeah, the rumors are going to continue, and in my opinion, it is a decent move for both parties. Alonso also will get to have one final season with a decent car, and Alpine, even though they are not a top team yet, might not have the budget to have any star drivers, and they probably don't want to risk it with a rookie driver. Having Fernando Alonso and with a wealth of experience and his competitiveness is probably the right way to go. We just have to wait and see. So that is the end of the updates for today from my side. There is also a lot of questions about Kim Kardashian and her effect on Lewis, and the towel stealing and cursing Kimi and all of that. See, I'm actually happy for Lewis. If he has found love, he has found love. If he wins, he wins. Okay, as for the towel business, I know it is fun banter, but yeah, I'm not gonna spend too much time thinking about it. So thank you so much for watching. I love all of you. We are growing every day. Our views are growing every day, and your comments keep me motivated to making these kinds of videos. Making one such video takes somewhere around 7 hours of work. So yeah, it takes time, but I love doing this, and I love doing this for you. So if you have not subscribed till now, please subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, cheers.